I'm here with most of the jury and Corey and Rhonda from Extra Whip, who are about to find out who made the final two and are about to question them in the Cakesback Inquisition. Now on Big Brother Cheesecake 8 Political Bait. Chefsick Moonves. Welcome to Big Brother Cheesecake 8's Political Bait. It's day 83 inside the Big Brother Cheesecake house. And Alex, Dustin, and Gina were the final three. One of them won the final part of the three-part head of household competition and chose to evict one of the other two. And we are about to question them now in the Cakesback Inquisition. So before I bring in the house guest who finished in third, I'm going to ask each juror who they think won the final head of household, which we know is not Gina, and who they think was evicted. And we'll start with Curtis.
I think Dustin won, and I think Alex is evicted.
Okay. Zaki?
If history is bound to repeat itself, Dustin's going to win and Alex is going to get evicted.
Okay. Jonathan?
I think the same.
Okay. And Davey?
I'm going to root for the underdog, and I'm going to say Alex. Alex won it.
And he evicted
Dustin.
Okay. Yeah. Corey, I'll let you chime in since we're short. Glow couldn't be here because she's currently getting married to Bob Barker in Las Vegas. And Penny, unfortunately, is having surgery. She's had some medical issues, and we wish her nothing but the best. She is still going to be a juror, and we love her. So, yeah. And if one of them pops on or gives a question to me, I will ask it. So, sorry, Corey, go ahead.
We know strange things can happen in these last final HOH. So, I mean, that's the only one I ever won. So, I'm gonna say Alex pulls it out of his ass, and Alex won, and he evicts Dustin.
Okay, and Rhonda. Oh,
you're muted, Rhonda.
I'm going to say the same thing, only because Corey shocked the shit out of season 6, and yeah, he's due for some good luck. Let's go. Alex and evicts Dustin.
So it ended up being a split decision after all. It started off with all of you saying one thing, and then the three of you said the other. And also, Michael and Joanne couldn't be here because Michael is fucking Joanne. Okay, so is everybody ready? I am now, and in case you haven't watched Big Brother Cheesecake 5's whatever I called it, Cakesback Inquisition, by far the best one. You have to go back and watch because Jonathan came in season 5 and literally everyone goes, yes, fuck you, yes, woo! And then Kat called Chantel a cunt and we had a cunt calling session. It was wild. And then Eitan said, you called my friend a cunt. And she goes, well, she was. Anyway, okay. So, is everybody ready? It's time to reveal the person who finished in third place.
Oh,
yeah.
So I can reveal that Dustin obviously did win the final part 3 of the final head of household competition, and he chose to evict Alex. You didn't get a chance to have a formal extra whip, so I'll give you like 1 minute here if you want to say something about your game and what happened this week.
I don't know. I mean, Dustin told me he was going to take me to final 2, but I never really believed him. I knew I had to win to get there, and I didn't.
And this
Can I say one thing for Joanne?
Yes.
Joanne asked me if I could do this. Joanne is really sad that she couldn't be here because she's having to drive back early from New Brunswick because they have a lot of snow. She wanted me to tell you, Alex, that she's so proud of you and she was so happy that she picked you and she was really, really rooting for you. And if you're here, she's very sad.
Yeah,
you did a really good job.
It does
Thank
mean
you.
that Michael keeps the trend going of 3 winners in a row winning the draft. Brazil, and now Michael has won the draft with Gina and Dustin, and an NDP will win the season. So let's bring out the final 2, Dustin and Gina. Congratulations, Dustin and Gina. You have made it to the final 2. And we are now going to have the Cakesback Inquisition. So I will give each of you the opportunity. Gina, you're here, right? You're good?
I'm
Okay,
here.
good. I will give
Yes.
each of you the opportunity to make an opening statement of no more than 6 minutes each. Each of the jurors will then have, it was going to be 5, but since Glow and Penny are not here, I'll give them 6. So they'll have 6 minutes each to make a comment or question either or both of you. And then you will have just 4 minutes to make a closing statement. So Dustin, since you won head of household, you get to choose who goes first in the opening statements and in the closing statements as well.
Okay. I'm fine going first.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so can I start?
Yes.
Okay, so back in like August 2022, I flew to New York and I met Michael there. And Michael was in the final 3 of this game, and he told me everything about it. And from then, that's when I fell in love with this game. I said, I'm going to play Big Brother Cheesecake. And I thought that was like the craziest name ever. I was like, what is this even? And now I'm here, and I'm just so happy to be here. And just thank you, everybody. But I feel like this entire game has been about how do we get Dustin out since week 3. So coming into this game, I was in a bipartisan alliance chat with Alex, Brooke, and Kendra. At first, I felt like that was the alliance I wanted to run with until the end. But then in week 2 and 3, I had multiple people come to me saying, Alex is attempting to backdoor on you. Instead of freaking out on him, like I did to some people later in the game, I said, okay, that makes sense. Like, sure. And I thought it was a little bit fake at first, but then I came into this next round and I got people to, I campaigned for that HOH so that I can make a move. And I got that same chat who was trying to backdoor me to vote for me to become the HOH. That same round, I formed an alliance with other people, Sean, Curtis, Gina, Jonathan, Zachy, and myself, called the Naomi Campbell Alliance. This alliance is the alliance that controlled the first half of the season, but during that time, I started to notice that there was things going on, that Curtis was going and had influence on the entire chat and saving Davey. And so when he saved Davey in that chat, I knew that Curtis soon became the biggest threat. And that's when I knew that my name was going to start being another target. And so I would say that that leads to my biggest move in flushing the coup. So I made a fake alliance chat with Alex and Curtis. So the intentions was on acquiring the coup for myself or flushing it. And I felt like the target was on my back was only growing. And so I told Zachy that there was an alliance chat that was created to put him up on the block. In reality, I created that alliance so that we can flush the coup. Sorry. And when I wanted to, what I wanted to do was flush the coup that round and get Zachy. And I told Zachy, like, you need to play in the POV. You need to make yourself safe. And in reality, it was to flush the coup. And because I knew I didn't want that coup to be used on me later going into the game. And so when I did that, I was able to successfully flush the coup because I knew that that was going to be used on me in the future. I could just feel it coming. And I had to risk anything I could in that game to flush that coup that round. Also, I was part of the reason why Gina had to use her Diamond Power veto so early. So for that round, I was in the bipartisan alliance and I told Kendra, and I came up with a plan to flush the DPOV. But at the same time, I was saying to Gina that we need to get Paige out. And so I was on both sides of that flush as well. Another round that happened that was brought up in a question with Jonathan was that she made a move on Sean. That round, Gina wanted to make a move and put Glow and Davey on the block. I said, no, we can't do that because we need to have Curtis and Davey go next to each other because of what happened the previous round with Curtis saving Davey. And so when that happened and when Davey got off the block, Glow was supposed to be the replacement nominee, but I convinced to put Sean up instead. And I said Sean needs to go on the block instead of Glow, because Curtis was trying to say that he would vote out Glow over Davey, but in reality that was not happening. I knew that wasn't happening. And so that move on Sean was influenced by me. I also threw Curtis said in one of his extra votes that I can't win my way to the end, and I noted that. And so during the BB animal comp, Gina and I worked together. I got put in solitary and I gave her all the answers to all the animals, and she ended up winning that competition. And that, I think that shows that both week final 7 and final 5, that I did not need, I was relying on my social game and not my competition wins, because I was vulnerable both those weeks. So much so that Davey even went to the wheel to get me out that week. I think when someone risks a 1 in 3 chance to go on the wheel to make a move on you, I feel like that's a huge testament. Alex told me when I evicted him, we were telling each other all day, we're going to bring each other. He told me when he left that he was going to bring Gina instead. And for me, another huge thing was I was actually writing most of Gina's nomination speeches this entire game. I'm just going to lay that out on the table. A lot of the nomination speeches that you think Gina wrote, I actually wrote, and I can't prove it, but I've told Andrew, I've told Michael in my speeches that a lot of them were influenced by me. A lot of those moves were influenced by me. And I feel like I have played a very well-rounded game. I've loved getting to know all of you as much as I can. This means more to me than a lot of things. And I would love to represent this season as the winner. I feel like I have had the target on me since week 3 by everyone in some form, but I feel like certain weeks people would work with me and then not work with me. And I feel like so many powers were used to try to get me out. And I feel like I navigated those all well. A lot of the comp wins that I did win were very diverse comp wins. I won social comps, I won physical comps, I won endurance comps. And I would absolutely just love to be able to represent this season, be you guys' winner.
Okay. Thank you, Dustin. And Gina, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Sure. I hate following obviously Dustin, but there's a couple of things that I would first want to say. I am very appreciative of the Extra Whip team. I've not had a moment to speak to you or even express myself to you. So Rhonda and Corey, who are here today, thank you so much. I know that you have spoken about what you think, you know, our personalities are, and I didn't do a really good job of putting myself out there and really showing you who I am. I tend to think of myself as an introvert, although a lot of people would disagree with that. But, you know, I appreciate you interviewing and getting to know every single person who was leaving the game for what they were. There's a lot that Dustin has said. And first of all, I want to recognize all of the folks who are here, you know, starting with Alex, you know, being voted out, and Jonathan, Davey, you know, Curtis and Zachy. You guys are amazing. So there's nothing in my game that was exceptionally different from your game other than, you know, luck and sometimes a lot of different game moves. So thank you for being here. I didn't have everything written down because I wasn't sure. I didn't even know that I would make it to this point. So I didn't try to be very preemptive. I didn't try to do what Dustin has done, which is write down every single move and analyze every single decision that I've made. Because when I made all of those decisions, I felt that I was making them from a place, a good place. So I even told Davey, I think Davey, you and I were talking maybe 2 weeks ago, and you were already calculating or already talking about who in the jury would be the right person to, you know, vote or give you some, you know, something positive. And I just never got there. So this was a surprise to me. I felt as though initially let the guys take out the guys. And I felt that Davey, Dustin, and Alex would do that for me. and allow me the opportunity to get close to the end, but I never pictured the end. I always thought, Dustin, you would always take Alex. Alex, you would always take Dustin. There was just a little bit of hope for me that I would make it to the end based on the game that I played and based on, you know, your forward thinking and calculating everything way ahead of time. So I kind of think that that has helped my game. Looking back from the very beginning, I tried to stay with the numbers. I tried to make sure that every single person that I worked with, I talked to, whether it was Kendra, whether it was Brooke, the early votes, whether it was Ken, who never responded to me, and whether it was Eric, I always was there every single day. I talked to every single person. I played that social game with you, Jonathan, you know, every single day. Checked in on you. I checked in on Glow. I didn't care what the day looked like. I wasn't really playing for the game. I was playing to get to know people. And so I got to know very intimate details. You know, Curtis, you and I, we talked a lot about life, like everything outside this game. And those are the types of things that I appreciate about being here, is that I know things that a lot of people here, you know, if Andrew's game was a lot different and it was based on personal gameplay, I would be able to answer. You know, Davey, when you were in Las Vegas, I was telling you about places to eat and places to go, you know, so I switched a lot from the game. So when you hear Dustin talk about, this is the way I played the game, it was very strategic. These are all of the things I did. I talked to Sean, I talked to Curtis, I did this and the other. Our gameplay gets a little different when it comes to the social, getting to know these people. So even though he thinks he influenced me, a lot of it was that I already was influencing a lot of people that were already in the game. And I was getting to know them on a level that was much deeper than just, you know, gameplay, game level, animal comp type stuff. And so for the folks that are here outside of Extra Whip, I bet you that I can give you like 2 or 3 things that Dustin does not even know about you on a very personal level that you didn't even get to talk about. And that's why I'm sitting here and, you know, at the very end, not because I really was trying to be that person. So outside of the strategic, my social game is what I lean to. And, you know, again, whether it's Zaki, Davey, Jonathan, Alex, Curtis, I had that in mind with you guys.
Okay, thank you, Gina. Okay, so now, jurors, I turn it over to you. You will each get 6 minutes to either make a comment or ask a question to either or both of the final 2. And Curtis, you're up first.
Okay. Gina, I want you to win this so badly. I want to vote for you so freaking badly, and I need you to understand how awesome you are and to like own your game a little bit, because Dustin needed to get lucky twice to get here. He needed that wheel to go his way. You never did. You were his shield. He wasn't yours. But if you don't act like you want this, I can't give it to you. So is there anything you can say? Why are you better than him?
Well, a lot, because Dustin really did rely on me on the social game to protect him. So that's one thing, you know. I had a relationship with you and Sean that Dustin can't even get close to, right? We talked about things that were outside of the game that, you know, and I know that Dustin really, really focused on the game. And then when it comes to it, I think there are things that he takes credit for that aren't entirely 100% Dustin. For example, he says, you know, when we were doing the animal competition and we were working together, he helped with all of the clues, but he couldn't get to the end of the clue because he was sequestered by Penny. And that's not really true. It's that I got to that piece of the puzzle before he did. And even then, I messaged Andrew. I didn't realize that it was supposed to be on the public vote, and I a public page, and I messaged Andrew and I said, this is the answer to the clue. And then, only to find out, and Dustin did point that out, like, hey, you were supposed to put it on the main page. So there were little things like that where credit is taken and credit isn't due. So I worked really, really hard in the background to make all of these alliances and people feel comfortable. And then that afforded Dustin then the effort to sit back and not really have to do any of the dirty work, if you will. So he's seen as being strategic and also being very compromising and being very, straightforward, but that's not really the case, because all of those conversations had to happen for things to protect him. So I agree with you, Curtis, that I did act as a really huge shield for Dustin throughout the game.
Okay, thank you. And please keep that in mind tonight. And Dustin, did you have any more temper tantrums, or was that just reserved for me? Can you explain that a little bit? Like, why did you act like that when I went for the emerald? Clearly you're here. That was my move. That was what I needed to do. And you made me feel really shitty about that. And we're
Yes.
total jerk. So go ahead.
Yeah, so for me, a huge part of going off on you in the main chat was because I wanted to make it clear to everybody that you were my target. I never wanted it to be personal or anything like that. Like, we had great conversations. Like, we had conversations too. Like, you know some pretty personal things about me as well. And I did talk to you for like 4 hours that one night when you were with your friends. And so I do feel like my social game is being downplayed a little bit. Like, yeah, I don't have the same social finesse as Gina does, and that is where she does outdo me. But for me, I feel like that call out, like, yeah, it could have been a little bit better, but it was not personal. It was game based, and I did feel a little bit blindsided by it. But at the same time, I was going behind the scenes, and I was telling Penny and I was telling everyone that I should get you too, but I wanted to make it clear to other people that I was targeting you, but I didn't try to make it personal or anything like that. And I'm sorry if that hurt you, but yeah, I didn't try to do anything like that for you, towards you.
Okay. Well, congratulations to two of you. Your duo is admirable. I love that you guys stuck to each other through thick and thin. And good job.
Thank you.
Okay. You're good, Curtis? Okay. All right. And next is Saki.
Hi, you two. It's been so
Hello.
long
Hello.
since I've seen my MVP folks.
Yes.
I wanted to say congratulations to both of you. Y'all did the work to get there. And as bitter of juries as some people would want to be, you can't like not say you didn't deserve to be there. And so I wanted to just congratulate both of you for getting there. No one can be mad about that. I feel like people can be slightly irritated about how, Dustin, you treated people when it comes to just your game moves and things that you just did throughout the game. There were a lot of things that you did, not towards me, but to other people that I saw. I was like, ooh, that's maybe not a level to which I feel like someone with a really good social game would do, or if someone who holds like a lot of like personal relationships at a higher regard would do in the game. And so I want you to tell me why, Dustin, your social game is better than I think it is.
So I think my social game is better than you think it is, because I did have blowups, but a lot of the blowups were to show that I was targeting someone in the main chat. Like, they're not as chaotic as you think they are. And a lot of people behind the scenes too were saying like, it's like with Curtis, when the emerald thing happened, everybody was telling Curtis to do the emerald, right? I wasn't told by a single person that Curtis was doing the emerald, not even Gina or anyone. And then Curtis tells me that everybody was on board with it. And so I feel like for me, calling certain people out and making my targets clear, it's not like I'm going to yell at the entire house, but like, once I figured that out, I didn't go off and yell at Gina. I didn't go off and yell at you or Glow or anyone else in the chat. I felt like I planned my like call outs in the main chat strategically, because everything in this game, I always wanted to make sure that I had like 2 or 3 targets, not like everyone in the house, even though everybody was saying that they knew the emerald was gonna happen on me. And otherwise too, I would go on call whenever someone would ask for a call. I never wanted to be that person who was always constantly asking people to call. I wanted people to come to me because I know, you know, mental health and we all have our lives. And so I went on call as much as I could with people and checked in as much as I could with people, but we're all busy. And I do feel like from the chances I did get to call people and being on the West Coast, and with my busy work schedule, I did make as much effort as I could to socialize with people. And not only on a personal level, but on a game level as well, because I did win those first 2, what could be called social comps, because the endurance comp kind of turned into a social competition. And then the cocktail virus, Gene and I were in the final 2 for that as well. And so I feel like both on a personal social game, never made anything personal, never called anyone anything. It was all, the callouts were all game related and they were all in the main chat. And that is, yeah, Penny and I had a little bit one-on-one, but then it moved to the main chat. And so it was always game related. And it always was to make it clear that these are my targets, because I was such a big target that I couldn't afford to call out everyone. I had to call out certain people at certain times.
You're on mute.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Dustin. Gina, I want to move to you. I kind of want to piggyback off of something that Curtis said earlier. He said that you're not really owning your game when you're talking about your game and everything in your speech. And I kind of agree. It feels like you're telling us a lot about what you have done and just what. I want to give you the time to tell us how you did certain things. I want you to tell us the how, because I feel like that would be able to differentiate yourself from a lot of what Dustin's game had to do with, because he did a lot of what. I feel like you did a lot of how. I would like for you to tell me how you did a lot of things in the game.
Yeah, and so that's fair enough, Zaki, in terms of owning the game. I do take that. And it's something that I think Andrew too had pointed out by the time, you know, Brooke was being nominated. It was like, you know, Gina's in the background, but she's not really talking about how any of this is happening. So one of the ways was recognizing, I think very early on, that Glow had this alliance with Jonathan. And I couldn't quite pinpoint, I didn't realize that Glow had all of these alliances with multiple people, but I just knew that the 2 of them were 2 votes that were intact, right? And so I started to put that together, like, okay, you have this block where it's Glow and Jonathan. And then the next was trying to figure out, like for you, Zaki, like where you were. I knew you were deadlocked with NDP, but I also felt like you were very quick to move out of that block given any opportunity. And so I started to just whiteboard everybody out. And I started with, you know, Curtis and really Sean was the big piece, because Sean had these 3 votes that he could use, right? And I had a very limited HOH. And so it started to become, how am I able to then move all of these pieces so that the right person or somebody somebody that's not me gets out of the game. And when you see it on the whiteboard, then it starts to become really clear, because there was Dustin. And then one of the interesting people, honestly, was Alex, because Alex was question mark, question mark, question mark. I just never understood like where he stood in relation to Davy, in relation to Dustin. And so honestly, it looked like a murder scene. I just had all of these people And I was consistently trying to put all of these dots together to see how a vote could happen and whether that would include you, include Dustin, and include everybody else. So I may not be owning it because I never saw the big picture, to the end, but I saw the big picture for the vote. And if you look at the votes, and I think Andrew put it out there, like I was never outside of that vote. I was always with everybody else voting until it came to you, Jonathan. I mean, that was an incredible fit, and we can talk about how I influenced that and what I did for that and how it all came down to that and why that vote was something that was outside of my norm. But everything else, I knew what everybody else was thinking, and that was social, talking to people every single minute, every single day, every single hour, and having a pulse so that, and Andrew can even give this, I always voted potentially last on every single vote. I was waiting for everything to come together on that whiteboard that I had so that I could pull that and make sure that the person I thought was going home was going home. So that was my game. That was my strategy. That was me owning it, I would talk to people to the very, very last minute. I think Andrew was giving an example of somebody who didn't vote, because they were talking to somebody else. That was usually my game plan. Even with Penny, when that vote was coming down to 10 minutes, she was still talking to Davy. She was still talking to, and I was there talking to her. I knew I'd already put in my vote. And so, Zachy, that's just how I owned it and how I did it. Very methodical, very logical.
All right.
Very good answers, both of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Zachy. And now we are going to move to our favorite surf twink, Jonathan.
Hello, Surf Twink
Hello.
himself.
Yes.
Congratulations, Dustin and Gina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I feel like I had a very good relationship with you both in this game. So I guess with Gina, I'll start with you. My biggest thing, where you kind of confused me, is, well, not confused me, but I felt like we had a really good social relationship, and you like worked to maintain that until a certain point. I feel like there was a point when you nominated me for eviction, which was fine. I felt like you're like, I was just thinking about like jury management, and I was trying to like talk to you before, because you did tell me that you were thinking about putting me up as a pawn, and so I was just trying to talk to you, beforehand, and it seemed like you just like left me on red, and then like hours after you're just like, oh, I'm sorry, we didn't even get a chance to talk, when I was trying to like talk to you more. I understood the move, I completely understood, but I just felt like Dustin put me up twice, but I feel like I for some reason I wasn't as better when Dustin did it, because I feel like Dustin communicated to me like throughout the whole time. So I wasn't really offended, or not offended, because I definitely get this as a game, but I guess I just understood it better with Dustin. So I just want to hear more about your jury management, because I know you played a really good social game, and like, I mean, you played a great game. So I just want to hear kind of where you were coming from, and kind of what your like strategy around that was for like jury management.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned this before. I wasn't doing a lot of jury management, right? Because I didn't see the end game as much as some of the people who are already playing were playing. So they were playing ahead of me and trying to do that, whereas I was being very honest and very sincere, really, just taking it week by week. So that's one thing that I've learned. So, you know, I definitely see that in my game, apologize for that, but I don't like to play people ahead of time. So it was very difficult for me to do the jury management piece and then try to still play the game that I was playing. So the very first time, I think, Jonathan, one thing that people may be surprised about is that I had a very limited, I mean, everybody knows that I had a very limited number of people to put up for my first HOH. That was terrible. I really had you, I had Glow, I had Sean, and that was it. And I think some of your insecurity and also being that you hadn't played very much, you stepped up and actually volunteered to be in that place, right? So I was talking to you on vacation in Mexico, and you were like, well, if you really need a pawn and if you need someone to put up, you can put me up. And that was the moment I realized that you were invaluable, that I couldn't do that to you. And I'd already told Sean that he was going up, somebody who had played this game many, many times before. And so, you know, that started this arc of obviously Curtis and Sean being put up on the block, whereas, you know, people didn't realize that I had an easy vote in you and potentially an easy vote in Glow, right? But for both of you, I had already said what I wouldn't do. And so I took a very, very hard hit, especially with the way that Sean went out and everybody recognizes that, you know, it wasn't very pleasant, but I stood my ground and I wasn't going to put you up just because, you know, you were volunteering. I had thought about the game and everything else. And then down the sorry.
No, I really appreciate that answer. The only thing, I mean, I could be wrong too. My memory is not the best, but I don't believe I ever volunteered. I know I told Dustin when Dustin was HOH that that he could put me up as a pawn. I don't believe I said that to you. I know you, when we were talking, you brought it up because that was the competition that you won. It was the infection, and I gave it to you. Well, yeah, I had to pick between you and Dustin. And so I know we kind of had that little agreement that, you know, you guys wouldn't put me up. And so when you were HOH, we did talk, and I remember you did kind of make me a little nervous because you did throw it out there saying, I mean, I know I only have like, you know, you to pick between you, Glow, and Sean, like, unless you would want to, like, you know, take one for the team and put up as a pun. And I do remember saying, I would really, you know, I really wouldn't want to do that. I would really appreciate not to do that. And I'm glad that you didn't end up doing that.
Yeah, you really did say no, but if you really have to, I think by your words, if you really have to, I know you don't, but, you know, I would take one, you know. So that actually earned a lot of respect from me for the fact that you were willing to step up and were willing to, you know, in this game where, you know, few people ever do that, were willing to say that to me in an HOH that I had very limited opportunities. And then just to address your next one, I think Dustin put you up with Davy, and then we know how you know that went, and then you got put up again with Penny. And so I do feel like you got, I don't know whether it's a road deal with me and Dustin potentially putting you up subsequently, but I fought for you to stay, you know. I did everything I could. And
sorry to cut in. You're about a minute and a half over, so I'm sorry. I'm going to cut in.
Yeah, no, it's fine, Andrew. I feel like I had gone over already. Sorry.
Jonathan,
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is someone who needs no introduction, Davey. Yeah.
Hi, y'all. Okay, I had a lot of notes, but I want to piggyback off of the conversation you just had because when we talk about raw deals, I felt like I got a really raw deal. Like if Jonathan got a raw deal, bitch, I got a rawer deal. It was really bad. I'll start with Dustin. You put me up like 5 times, and like at one point I was like, I understand it because I haven't like been talking to you, but then like as I was put up on the block, I was like, I mean, I guess I understand because you have nobody else to put up. And so I guess my question to you is, when did you pinpoint that I was a big threat to your game?
The week that I pinpoint that you're a big threat to my game was when you stayed against Brooke. That is when I linked you, Sean, and Curtis as this trio that I needed to get out of the game. However, there were times where I was using you only as a pawn continuing, such as the coup flush. I wanted the coup flushed, and I knew that if you and Jonathan were on the block or anyone like that, that you would be saved by Curtis. And so that's why I didn't ever put Zachy up the first week. I knew all along I wasn't going to put Zachy up during this coup flush thing that I was doing, because I knew that Curtis and Alex would not save Zachy with the coup, but I knew that they would save you and Jonathan with the coup. And so at that point, I wasn't really targeting you. That was to get the coup flashed. And so I would say, yes, the week with Brooke is when I recognized you as a target, but there were following weeks where I was putting you up as strategy where I knew you were safe, but there was other things that needed to happen, such as the coup being flushed to save you. So yeah. That's what I would say with that. And then also the week where I backdoored Curtis, you also were not my target. I knew putting you and Penny up, you guys were big social players. I knew that you guys could have the ability to win comps. And so I knew that POV was going to be used. And that's when I backdoored Curtis. So you also weren't my target that week either. So I did have to put you up a lot in terms of, as pawns, or if you were actually my target, but you were never really my target, like where I wanted to vote you out until Final Four. So yeah.
Okay.
I know.
Okay. I know. I get it.
Yeah.
My last question to you is, what is something in my game that you wish you had in yours this season?
Your social game. Everybody loves you. I'm sure that jury chat was very upset when I sent you there. I did struggle this, like at 4. You somehow convinced, like I put you up so much, and I was still debating all day on evicting Alex or you, and I just couldn't risk it. I know statistically Alex has more challenge wins, but these last 3 comps kind of were a crapshoot, and I kind of knew that they were, you know what I mean? And so it's because they're like, it was deal or no deal, which you won actually. And then it was jury questioning, and I have a feeling you would have done really well at that. And then there was a Tetris competition, and I just couldn't risk you winning any of that because I knew that you would kick any of our 3 asses in the end with just your social game alone. And you survived so much, and it just amazes me that you were able to navigate depending on who you were next to, if Gina or I put you on the block. And so your social game 100% is what I wish I had in the game.
Thank you. Okay. Hi, Gina. I felt myself rooting for you like for the majority of this game. And I think I'm just sitting in a lot of betrayal because I felt like there was a lot of bumps at Spike to try to get Dustin out, because I feel like we see all of the factors or like the pillars of the game in physical, strategic, somewhat social. I feel like even when like he put me on the block, he like made me feel like I was still part of the game, like it was really nice. And after the Jonathan vote, I just felt really betrayed because it was like, you say you want to work with me, but nothing that you did really showed that you wanted to work with me. Like even when I sapphired myself, even when I didn't use the amethyst, like I just feel really betrayed. So I would like to know, like when was it like a false cause or like I don't know. Like, did you ever want to go to the end?
So I can relate definitely to everything that you have mentioned. I think one of the things that was really, really difficult for me, Davy, was just, you and Jonathan at the very beginning of the game really played it very low key, right? You both just were not in the game. And so you would appear maybe in the mornings and maybe in the evenings. And so I felt like I had an even key relationship with both of you. I think Jonathan was a little helped out by the fact that he was aligned with Glow. And Glow was trying every morning, at least in the alliances, as we now know, to really get there and make sure that there was some social presence to it. And so when you definitely came up, and it was, I think, the fourth or fifth week, and we started talking, there was a lot of personality there, and I was getting to know you, but there was a lot of conflict because at that point it was even, in my case, between you and potentially Jonathan, right? I didn't know either one of you much better. And then both of you had played a very low-key game. And then Davy, you were very, very good at coming to me when you were on the block. I mean, it was almost like I could set my clock to it. As soon as you were on the block, you were very friendly. But as soon as, that event happened and passed, you disappeared. And so I had this huge conflict of always thinking and wondering, like, is Davy with me or is he not with me? Like, it almost seems like every single time I support him, we're together, but then when something else happens, he's gone, And that was one of the things I tried to ask you and tried to get and pull out of you to prove, because I really was with you. Really, that save at the very end with Penny was, I believed, like that was the alliance and that was what I wanted to do. But it was always, you always left me in doubt. You never 100% solidified, what we had, together. So, I don't know if that answers your question, in regards to that, but I definitely enjoyed, at least the last 3 weeks for sure of getting to know you and getting to trust and work with you.
Okay. Thank you, Davy.
Thank
And
you, Andrew.
last but not least, the final juror, Alex.
Hi, look, I already told you guys, like, I'm very proud of you guys for making final two. You guys both played a good game.
Thank you.
I'm gonna start with Gina. I feel like it was probably mid-game when you created the 3.0 alliance. Was that ever gonna be a real alliance, or?
No, it always was. It always was.
Well, so I felt that as soon as the alliance began, like, you were trying to protect Dustin. You left Davey on the block a couple times. So what was this? Well, how would you compare the 3.0 alliance to your relationship with Dustin?
I think one of the things was that the effort was obviously on my part, trying to reconcile the fact that I had been with Dustin from the very beginning, trying to explain that, trying to explain my game. And then it was in conflict with the game that you and also Davey were playing, right? So it always felt like it was definitely, I agree with you, like me versus you and Davey trying to be, but the consequence was always, hey, do I go with trust and loyalty, or am I going to be here and I'm going to be driven into a certain direction? And one of those directions, I think, was very evident when it was going to be you, Davy, and Penny potentially, you know, when Davy decided to go to rock. So it was always it wasn't that I was picking one over the other, obviously, but it was one where I was conflicted in having somebody that I've always worked with from the very beginning and trusted and know that I could trust to the very end, to two individuals who I knew were closer together than they were with me. And so every single time that I had separate conversations, Alex, with you, and I had a separate conversation with Davy, you were both looking out for each other. I don't know if you recognize that, but I recognized it and nobody was looking out for me. And so I felt very alone. And the only person that I knew that would look out for me was definitely Dustin. So it made it, somewhat simple in that, this is the alliances, and here we are, the final four. And at the final four, honestly, it was anybody's game to win. We all knew that. We all knew what we needed to do, and we all felt it. We all felt the pressure, and really, we could be sitting here just Alex, you and me potentially, and Davy. But that was the key moment. We knew that was the veto, and sadly, neither of us got it.
Okay, and then last question for you is if you had won the final HOH, would you have taken Dustin to the end?
Well, yeah, that is the question, right? I think I potentially may have, but I don't have that clarity right now because I didn't. I felt like either you or Davy. I actually felt like Davy was going to be better for my game, honestly, in everything that I spoke about. I felt that he and I, didn't have to compete with you two. I hate to use the word titans because obviously that's been decimated in this game, but I felt like, you and Dustin had really, taken over and done these amazing fits of gameplay that were not going to be replicable. And Davy potentially had that. And then I had the loyalty to Dustin. So it's very, very hard to say, Alex, but I do think in the end, I still would have picked him as the NDP just because of the way that our game has played out in every single week, everything that we've done, every conversation we've had, every discussion played out. So if I'm being totally honest, I think that's probably where I would have landed, but very close to Davey if that had been an option for me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dustin, I think a lot of people have talked about your social game.
Yes.
But I want to talk more about the strategy part of the game.
Yes.
So I think after round 3, I was a big target for you, and then I think Davey was clearly a target for you throughout the game. Yet I feel like you had 5 HOHs, and you weren't able to take either one of us out. And it got to a point where you got here because of a tiebreaker question. Otherwise, you would have been here. Do you think you made mistakes along the way?
Double.
Of course I made mistakes. What'd you say, Dandrew?
Double tiebreaker.
Yes, double tiebreaker. Okay, so the first HOH, I actually couldn't put you up. And so my first HOH was a success because I wanted to have Kendra or Brooke leave. Kendra left. And that's because we had an LBA. On the second one, I put you up. You had a colossal advantage, though. I figured that you most likely were going to win that POV anyway. And so I said, okay, I can put Davey up against Brooke. Brooke has the poo. She might leave, or Davey might leave because he's a social threat. So you were my target that round, but you had a colossal advantage. And I know Brooke also had one and she didn't play hers. But the fact that I put you up with a colossal advantage shows that. I'm also looking at a chart so I don't miss anything, by the way. For the next one, I put up I put up Davey and Jonathan. I didn't put you up. I only put you up after we knew the coup was going to be used on you. You weren't my target at that point because I was working in that fake alliance with you and Curtis. I knew that you weren't going to go home that week. So my third HOH, I wasn't targeting you at all. You volunteered to go on the block because we were flushing the coup to put up Zachy and Glow. That's what happened that round. For my fourth HOH, it was backdooring Curtis. I didn't put you up at all that round. I put up Davey and Penny, and then we backdoored Curtis. You weren't my target at all that round. For my fifth HOH, we had the fifth HOH? Yes. For my fifth HOH, we wanted a social threat gone. Me and Gina wanted a social threat gone. We didn't want you to leave that round. And I was loyal to the rich monopoly money bags, whatever our alliance was called until then, because I knew Davey and Jonathan, their social games were so on point that one of them had to leave that round, and you were not my target that round. And I did believe you that you, me, and Gina would take this to the final three with our rich money penny bags alliance, whatever it's called. And then in the final four, once again, I did not evict you. So I don't feel like I ever really failed at taking you out, because I feel like a lot of the times it was either I was weakening your position in the game by taking out one of your allies, or I had an entire different target in the first place. And I think I proved that by my final four HOH. And then also during Monopoly, we made that rounds before the Monopoly, Eugene and I recognized one of us was most likely going to win. And that was a genuine alliance. I joked around with Gina that we could put you up if we won, but the genuineness around it was that I intended on one of us winning Monopoly that round so that we could take out a social threat in Davey or Jonathan, not you.
Okay, sorry, I got to cut in there because you're a lot over. So Alex, thank you.
Sorry.
So that's okay. So before we get to the final closing arguments from Dustin and Gina, I want to do something that I've done since All Stars, and you've probably seen it, those of you who've played orgs. I would like Dustin and Gina to please close your eyes.
Okay.
And I will read the names one at a time of the 7 jurors, and I want you to raise your hand if you think you are going to get that person's vote. So
Close your eyes, Gina.
Gina, close your eyes, Gina. All right, here we go. First up, Glow. Okay, Curtis. Zachy. Jonathan. Penny. Davey. And Alex. Okay, thank you. That was fun. All right, so Dustin, who would you like to speak first in the final?
I'll switch it and give it to Gina first.
Okay, so Gina, you have 4 minutes. I'll give you a 30-second warning, and go ahead.
So, Dustin, thank you, because I definitely would not be in this position if you hadn't won the final couple of HOHs. But also, I'd like to just thank everybody for giving me the grace to play this game. You know, I've talked about the extra whip. I've talked about Andrew. Thank you for having me in this game in which I had very, very little trust in myself, and it's exponentially increased my confidence. But, you know, for everything that's happened, I hope that everybody can see that nothing was personal. Everything that I've done in this game, I've thought through. I've thought that was the best decision for the game and my way to go forward for the alliances that I had. I always tried to remain as faithful and as truthful as I could in them. For the people that I told that I would do, you know, things that I would do, I honestly tried to be upfront about that. I tried to always be, look, this is what's going to happen. This is what I can and cannot do. For, you know, the way that we got here, for the people that we took out, the people that we brought, I know there's always going to be some hard feelings and some resentment. But at the end of the day, you know, you play this to win it. And I know that Extra Whip has pointed out that sometimes I wasn't as aggressive as I should have been. I wasn't as cutthroat as I should have been. But I feel like I did everything that I should to make sure that I got to the end and that I was here in a position to, beg, ask all of you for your vote. Think about all of the game. Think about every step of the way that I went, the people that I voted out, the people that I kept. And I hope that you'll look at that. You'll think that I'm deserving of being, Big Brother Cheesecake 8, political bait, NDP, Gina Kelly, and you'll give me that crown, and you'll, be very, very happy for me representing this season for everything that I did, whether it was, taking it hard, playing it through different time zones. I wouldn't even tell you how many different time zones that I played this game, but I appreciate all of you. I love all of you. I've enjoyed this game, and I'm very, very, very grateful that I'm here at the final and asking for your plea and your vote. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Gina. And Dustin, your 4 minutes starts now.
All right, so yeah, thank you, Andrew, Extra Whip, and everybody here. Andrew, fantastic game. I would probably honestly say it's one of my favorite orgs, if not my favorite org I've ever played. Like I said, I've been in love with this game since I met the previous winner, and I would love to join and take Michael's crown from him and put it on my head. It's just been an amazing game. Everything I did in this game was purely strategic, not anything personal. Every alliance I made, every alliance I was in, every time I turned on the alliance, every time I created a new alliance, I was as transparent as possible. There are times, of course, where I lied and where I manipulated, but I feel like that's the game of Big Brother. I feel like I was transparent about the moves I was making. I publicly said what my backdoor plan was with Curtis, but then at times I lied about creating fake alliance chats. And so I feel like everything that I did here, whether it was a lie or a truth, got me to where I am right now. And I feel like I didn't make any unnecessary lies. Like, people like, for example, Brooke was saying, you should lie about everything. I figured you should tell the truth about something sometimes. And so I did that, and I got here, and I feel like there were multiple times that did not involve a wheel to put me on, to get me out of the game. Curtis did say that I needed to have different things than winning, and that was with Gina, and Gina saved me at 7 and 5, and I think that was a purely social move. It did come down to a wheel a couple times, and I did get lucky on a wheel twice, but we wouldn't have gone to the wheel if Curtis didn't want to try to get me out, and we wouldn't have gone to the wheel if Davey wouldn't have risked his life a 1 in 3 chance to get me out of this game. So I feel like I've done everything I could on, like Davey says, the 3 pillars to prove that I can win this game. And I've had so much fun with all of you. I hope to keep in touch with all of you. And yeah, I just had a great time. Yeah, and I also wanted to shout out the Dangerous Amigos Alliance. I think I forgot about it, but with Jonathan and Glow, Glow did tell me that she was making all these alliances and everything, but I still had so much fun in there. So don't think I forgot about it, but yeah, I had so much fun, and congrats to Gina as well. I couldn't have done it without you.
Okay. Thank you, Dustin and Gina. So you have done everything you possibly can now, and now the power goes over to the jury. So jurors, you have the weekend to think it over, and I know it seems like a long time, but at the end of the day, it is a very important decision. You are voting not just for somebody to win Big Brother Cheesecake, but you're voting for somebody to win $800 Canadian, which is still a good amount of money. So you have the weekend to think it over. Yeah, just be sure of your decision. Don't be like Brenda in season 4. She wanted to change her vote the next day. I don't know if Michael knows this, but Javier messaged me 20 minutes after he voted for Michael and said, can I change it to Owen? And I'm like, no. So make sure your vote is what you want it to be. You must cast your vote in the format. I will put this in the jury house, so don't worry. I vote for name to win Big Brother Cheesecake 8 political bait, or your vote will be reversed. I will also be dropping something that I've been, actually, I have not been working on it, but the person who was working on it wants to be remained anonymous. So they have been working on something that I'm dropping in the jury chat right now. It is the Big Brother Cheesecake Wikipedia page.
Oh, wow.
which has all the stats in the world to drive you mental, which of course I love. Thank you to that person. The reason why they want to remain anonymous is because they're worried if they come back for All-Stars that somebody would say, well, if you know all of these stats, then, you know, we should vote you out. So I don't want to take the credit for that person. Last but not least, this is going to air on Monday, but today, Monday, everybody can vote for Miss Congeniality, which is simply a vote for the person who you like the best. Anybody can vote on it. It was won by Brenda in season 4, Rhonda in season 5, Karen in season 6, and Bridget in season 7. So I'm very curious to see who is essentially America's favorite player. Let's face it. There is no prize though for it. Sorry. And yeah, I think that's everything. So with that said, tomorrow the jurors will cast their votes for the winner of Big Brother Cheesecake 8, Political Bait, and we will find out what's in store for season 9. And Wednesday is the season finale where we will crown the winner of Big Brother Cheesecake 8 Political Bait and award the $800 cash prize. I'm Andrew Shevsik-Moonves. Take care, and we leave you as we eavesdrop on the jury and the final 2. Good night.